Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Success in Motion podcast. I am Alex Burho, your host, and today we have a great guest with us. He is someone who I know very personally. He's a close friend. He bought and sold a few different businesses until he finally decided to land in the assisted living space. So today we're going to have Matt Bright on here with us. So thank you, Matt, for coming out with us. Uh, so, can you go ahead and just give us a quick snapshot of what's going on in your business right now? Tell us a little bit about what you do, what your company does, all those details.
So I'm in the home healthcare field, having assisted living. I also have about 12 years ago, I got into the private duty sector of the home healthcare, where we place caregivers in homes. That's how I got into the business, and so I still have one of those operating as well right now. Um, Assisted living, we have a facility that's here in Port Charlotte, Florida. um, we take care of elderly people. We're a level one assisted living, which means it's kind of like an independent slash assisted living where they can come and go as they please. We get younger people. The youngest I've had in there is 39. With people that need help with their daily activities, dressing, bathing, feeding, things like that. A lot of them are very independent. Some drive, some still drive around. They can come to and fro. But it's a great thing to do, especially here in Florida. There's such a need for assisted livings. There's big ones out there that are 300 beds, and there's small ones as small as 6 bed facilities. So just depending what kind of environment the people want to be in, more private, more um, more activities. They're getting the bigger ones. The private care where they don't want to feel like they're in a hospital, but more in home settings, more like what we have, private residential areas that we buy and we open them up and turn them into assisted living. So kind of explanation what we do there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, especially down in this part of Florida, there's quite a few other assisted livings and other home health care agencies in the area. So what do you guys do that really sets you apart?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things is we're more private than most places. Like I said earlier, like our caregivers, if you came to my facility, you would drive into this beautiful neighborhood and wouldn't even know that we're there. We don't have signs out front. My caregivers, they're welcome to wear scrubs if they want to wear scrubs, but a lot of times they're just in normal clothes because we want people to feel like they're at home when they're in our assisted livings. When there's fewer people, smaller private residential assisted livings, they you can do more one on one with the clientele. I've had people that are usually from the day I've opened have been with me. They usually are from the time coming in till the time they pass. They just feel comfortable. They feel at home. The families feel secure having with us because our ratio of caregivers to clientele is way more than you would get in a big facility. We have anywhere from home health aides to CNAs to our administrator is an LPN of 37 years. So they get quite a bit for being in more of a little private setting where they can come and go as they please and still feel like they're living life. So
So, as you were trying to figure out a ratio you wanted from how many providers versus how many clients you had, what was kind of the driving factor? What were you able to do to figure out the optimal ratio for you guys?
so the biggest thing is the state ACA, which is ACA, they control the state healthcare system. What they look for, they have rules and regs, and part of the rules and regs, you have to have one caregiver for every 6 people. Well, that can be a lot sometimes, especially depending on what kind of people you have. If you have bedridden people that need constant assistance, turning in bed, changing, bathing, dressing, you want to have at least 2 or 3 caregivers that are in there to help with the duties and to help out. But at my facility, I get kind of both. I have some that come in that are bedridden, and then I have some that come in, like I was telling you earlier, that still drive and like to go do things during the day, and then they come back because they're getting fed, they're getting their rooms cleaned, they're getting their laundry done, they're getting all the basic daily necessity needs taken care of. But it also gives them opportunity still to go and to live a independent life. But like I said, on ours, we've always had small ones. My first one was in Northport, Florida. I opened that one up and it was a 10-bed facility. And in that facility, like I said, I had people that came from me from my home health cares, my private home duty health cares that I had. You get to know these people so well that at the end, not everybody has a lot of money. There's not a lot of government programs that help them through assisted living. So, I thought my wife and I were talking about like, it'd be great to open up something that our people that we could help them out with and get into something they can afford. And so that's kind of how we got started in this. So we've always done the smaller beds. Um, right now I think in assisted living, your average private room is anywhere from $4,500 to $7,000 per month, and that's just for an average living.
Oh, yeah.
So we always try and stay at the lower scale of that, and we can do that because we have less employees, we have less, overhead costs. So yeah, so it's a little bit about the assisted living.
Perfect. So, if anyone is listening and they're wanting to either get into the home health care or the assisted living sphere, what tips would you give them? What would you suggest they do?
Well, so a lot of people get scared off at the first when they have to go through all the regs and go through all the paperwork and regs you got to go through with the state. Once you do it one time, you're like, okay, well that wasn't too bad. But they change constantly. So you have to stay up with it. That's why your administrator, or if they're going to be the administrator of it, they got to go through the class that they have. That's like 40 hours or something, and then you take a state test. But it's always important that they keep up on those rules and regs because I swear every 2 years something's changing. They change a lot, especially here in Florida with hurricanes. One of the big things with our with what we do is the safety of the people, and so where we have hurricanes a lot, the state comes up quite a bit, making sure that you have things prepared for. And 2 years ago in Ian, we had a really bad one that destroyed my facility. We probably had about $350,000 worth of damage. So we had to place our people within 24 hours to other places. Well, these were all set in place before that even happened. So we kind of knew of places that would accept them. We had contracts with them. And then the whole idea of once they go, most of the time you get them back, but sometimes they don't come back. So now you're starting fresh again. So there's lots of rules and regulations, but those are good things. A lot of people get mad at them a lot of times, but they're really good to have in place because they seem to always come into the situation like the hurricane time. I was like, why do we gotta have a contract here and here and here? We'll never be here. Well, guess what? We were there, and during Ian, we had to place them everywhere, and so that's one of the things is the paperwork. The other thing is you get a lot of overhead with your employees, or a lot of turnover with your employees. The home healthcare field it's a great field if you get people that love to work with people, especially elderly people. That's important. There's a lot of people just looking for jobs and they get out there, and so it's really important to take care of the ones that are really good. I've been very lucky, and we have the same ones that are with us, that have been with us for a long time. We help them out with, I mean, it could be as simple as helping them with transportation and helping them with different things, just to make sure that they know they're wanted. They know that the people love them and are grateful to have them there. Um, and really, I mean, but the cool thing about the assisted living field is when it comes down to it, we're really a family. Like if I get people that I can't handle, I'll send them to other assisted living facilities that maybe they can handle. Vice versa. They get situations where they get people in there that they don't feel they'll be a good fit, especially in our local area here. They'll send them to me and they'll say, "Hey, do you have an opening? I got someone here." So there's a lot of help throughout the system.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's so much coordination and,
Yeah,
only is accepting the people who you'll really be able to hit it out of the park with.
exactly. Yep.
So I know you had mentioned the hurricane came through. You guys had a lot of damages, basically had to shut everything down for a while. How did you guys prepare for that unforeseen event, or what did you have to do to basically take your business from it closed to getting it back going again?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we had I was very lucky, and I have a friend whose son-in-law has a construction company in Atlanta, Georgia. And he had come down here right after the hurricane, like within a day. And he had come down here helping some people in the subdivision in Northport with some of their messes that they were having with and some of the damage. Well, while he was down here, my buddy had told him about, hey, I got a friend. He has an assisted living. So we met up, and within 2 days, we had signed a contract. These guys were coming down to get to work. Now, we had already had the insurance adjuster out really quick. They came to all the assisted living stuff first before they hit a lot of places. So we kind of knew right off the bat, okay, boom, 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 things were falling in place. Well, this company, we were so lucky we had them involved because they turned it around in 90 days. So this whole house was like we lost our roofs, we lost, walls, we had water like 3 feet high inside. I mean, it just flooded out the whole thing. So it was pretty much a whole remodel. And we were able to get that done within 90 days. So my people were only placed out there for 3 months. While they were placed, that's part of the good thing where you do these contracts, you get places for them to go. So I knew where they were. So my caregivers were still working in the meantime. They were going and visiting them, spending time with them. And I think that had a big effect on the families because they were like, we really do care about our people. Yes, at the end of the day, we wanted to keep our business intact. So we kept the people close by. So we knew they were going to come back. And most of them all wanted to come back. But it was something that we all spent each day going out there, even if it's for an hour or two, going out there, visiting them, taking them to lunch, going and playing games with them, doing those things. But I think that really helped out the places they were at too, because they saw a good community development there that they were able to start doing with themselves, the ones that weren't affected in it. And it's funny because this last two hurricanes we had, the places we sent to, most of them were hurt during this last hurricane, so we helped out them. So it's a really neat process and how it works, and great field to be in because you can never have too many. There's so much need out there for care, and so it's a really cool thing.
That's awesome. It's really cool. Again, I love that cooperation that you guys have. So talk to us. What are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career?
Well, I mean, I started back about 2003. I was working for a company called um, Health Rider. I don't know if you ever knew those Health Riders. You sat on them, those exercise things. And they sold a couple treadmills. They had a few little exercise bikes, but their main thing was that Health Rider. You'd sit on and go back and forth. Anyways, I started with them in Utah. And it was funny because my first store I was in was at the Fashion Place Mall, right out in the kiosk, right out in the middle of the mall. We didn't have a store. It was just right out, you be sold right out in the middle of the floor. And that's where it all started for me over there. And I worked for them for a few years. My wife and I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada from Utah to help run a store down there. And I helped cover a couple of the Southern California stores based when I was based in Las Vegas. Well, one day they came up and they said, hey, they said, we're going to close down all the retail stores and just put everything online and start selling through Walmart, Sam's Club. And so when I was running those stores down there, I started doing on the side my own little courier business where I was taking the equipment that we would sell and I would take it out after hours and I go deliver it and set it up to make some money on the side. And another reason I did that is because the companies we used were pretty unreliable. And so I was trying to make a good name down there, and that's a bad way to go when they weren't showing up on the days to set it up and stuff. So I started doing it on the side. And as I was doing that, that's kind of when they made the announcement that they were going to move. And so they had asked me if I'd be interested in going to Bentonville, Arkansas, because that's the headquarters of Sam's Club and Walmart, and working out of there, running the sales department up there. And so, me and my wife were actually at the time looking to get back to Utah because we've been in Vegas for a couple years, and it was very appealing. We looked into Arkansas, very affordable, very beautiful place. But at the end of the day, that's where I decided that I wanted to become an entrepreneur and I wanted to go on my own. I've been thinking about it for a while. So I took that small little business that I had and I turned it into a pretty big career business that I had for the next 8 years, where I developed accounts with Icon Health and Fitness, the company I worked for. I turned around and signed a big contract with them. I signed with some furniture stores and did all that stuff. And over time, it led me to sell that to buy a furniture store down there. Had that for a couple years, and I sold that. That's when I got into the home health care back in 2010, I think it was 2010. And I started into this career, um, getting it, knowing nothing about home health care. I just had a buddy that did it, and he was doing very well with it. And so he convinced me to get into buy a territory in Denver, Colorado, is where my first area was. So we got into it, took off right away. Just awesome working with the old people. I love just meeting some of the old people. Um, and you get to hear their stories and get to hear about them. It was really cool. And at the end of the day, you can make a good business. And so, doing that, there are struggles. I mean, I was gone from my family. I was traveling, always going over to set up an office. When I was in Colorado, I did it for a while until I got to the point where I was up and going, where I moved my family there for a year. And we did it for a year, and then we went back to Salt Lake, and then I decided to open up another one. And I was doing California and Florida at the same time. So I was traveling out there, and I'd come back and I'd travel to Florida. So there was a lot of blood and sweat and tears you put into it. But at the end of the day, it all paid off, and the home health cares were great, and there's a lot of those out there, very saturated in the home private duty home healthcare area. But like I said, there's a lot of people out there that need the help. But when I found the niche into the assisted living, that's when I branched over to that, started getting that more, and it's been a lot of fun.
Good. Well, that's awesome. And that's a really cool story of how it, started really small and you slowly grew it bigger and bigger and you
Yeah.
took advantage of the opportunities that you had until you were able to get to where you are. I love that. So, a lot of the guests that we have listening, they really like to look towards the future. And I know one of the big phrases out there right now is trying to create passive income or to enhance or even replace their active income.
Mhm.
What have been your thoughts on this principle?
Well, you know, when you look to the future, I mean, I've always looked at that with home healthcare and what I'm doing. It's never going to be a bad thing because there's always going to be people getting older every day. Everybody gets older, and so I think the home healthcare field was a perfect niche to get into because I've never really had the worries of, oh, what's going to happen. Because if anything, it just gets busier, 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 busier. And so there's such a big need for it. But finding those things on the side, my wife is a realtor, and so we've gotten into buying and purchasing real estate. We have, real estate on the side, places that we have. So you always want to prepare for the future and have, I've always told myself if this doesn't work out and something happens and this collapses, well, I've got my real estate on the side I could sell off. I should sell my homes and sell my rental homes and I do those things. But I definitely agree that, it's not a bad thing. I'm not a stock market person, which I'm watching. I've been told forever and ever buying the Tesla, and now it's like booming. Maybe I should have done that. But always with real estate, that you're gonna have ups and downs, but it's always going to come up on the upside. So I've been into the real estate for a little while now.
I love it. So, as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans or initiatives that you have? Basically, what do you have in the works for the next 6 months to the next year?
Well, one of the big things is I'm expanding out my assisted living and turning it into also a daycare, adult daycare. So what we're doing is we are going to start bringing in. I've already gone through about the licensing, got it all taken care of. But we're going to have an adult daycare, which is a really big thing that a lot of people don't know about over here because there's not many adult daycare places. But there's those places where people have their loved ones with them, or they might be in another place where there's not a lot going on. So they want them doing stuff during the daytime, either whether at work or what they need going on. So that's what we are doing right now is we are getting ready, probably February, to have a grand opening. I can bring anywhere from 17 to 25 more people up per day into my facility for about an 8-hour day where they can come in and do activities and do things like that. So growing the assisted living and growing that business over has been that's definitely my next 6 to 8 month goal is to have that up and going and not only is it it's a good more good business opportunity money to come through, but it's going to help the employees there to make even more money. So
Absolutely. Like you said, I had never even really thought about that. So that's an awesome opportunity for you guys and matches up with what you're already doing.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your insights and your thoughts and your story. If someone would want to reach out to you to connect with you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
My email address is bride11976 at yahoo.com. That's one spelled out, ONE. Or my phone number. That I'm always up for taking calls and talking to people, especially in the home healthcare business. It's always good to help people and see and get on their 2 feet and get going at it because I'm telling you, there's so much room for home healthcare in the future. People are just getting over and over every day. So my phone number is 720 295-3488. You can call anytime. I'd love to chat to anyone about it.
Perfect. All right. Thanks again, Matt.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Alex.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.